In this video, we're going to cover about sine rule, cosine rule, and area of triangle. If you're an IB student, you will have your formula booklet, and you will see that in the file of our formula booklet. I'm gonna go here. What you see the page about topic 3, geometry and trigonometry, and you will have it in the topic of 3.2. And here we have like three formulas here: the sine rule, cosine rule, and area of triangle. So in order to know how to use all of these formulas, the first thing that we need to understand is how to name the vertex, the side, and the angle of the triangle. So for these three formulas, we're going to apply them to a triangle that is not a right angle. So let me draw a triangle. Okay, so let's say I have a scalene triangle like this. Okay, and then I know that we're going to name all of the vertex. Let's say this is point A, point B, and this is point C. Sorry, that's the vertex A, B, and C. Okay, so I'm gonna use capital letter for the vertex, and which means that if I want to name the side in here, which means that this side over here, this side over here is A, because that is opposite to this. So naming the angle is also going to be crucial, since we're using we have a vertex A over here, so this angle is angle A, this angle is angle B, and this angle is angle C. So that's the first thing that you need to understand. The second one, again, I'm gonna go to the side length. So the side length is always corresponding to the opposite of the angle. So if this is A, right, this angle is A, capital A. So in front of that, the opposite to that, that is going to be, we're going to name that with also A, but using a lowercase letter. So which means that this side over here, this is going to be lowercase b, and this side over here is going to be lowercase c. So this is what we need to do first. Okay, so you need to understand on how to name all of them. So in naming all of them, so you can use all of these three formulas to apply them to calculate, for example, like the side length or the angle or the area of the triangle. Okay, so let's go to the first rule, which is the sine rule. Okay, so for sine rule, we have A over sine A equals to B over sine B and equals to C over sine C. So what does that mean? It means that the ratio between the side length with the angle, with the sine value of the angle opposite to it, is going to be the same for all of the three sides in a triangle. Okay, so if I have, for example, in here we have A, this A over here, right? And if I divide that by the sine value of this angle, that will be the same with this side over here divided by the sine of this angle, and then if always also going to be the same if I divide this side with the sine value of this angle over here. Okay, so to be clear, I'm going to give you an example here. First example for the sine rule, well, let's say we have this triangle over here, and then we need to find the value of x, which is this one over here. Okay, so in order to find this, the first thing we do is to see what we have over here. So what we have here is this angle over here, this angle over here, and we have this the length of this side and the length of this side. So before we calculate anything over here, it's best for us to name all the vertex and all of the angles. Okay, so I'm gonna name this with, for example, this is point A, so this is vertex A, this is vertex B, and this is vertex C. So which means that this side over here is the length of A, and this over here is the length of B, and this length is C, right? So always opposite to them. Okay, so which means that, again, in terms of the angle, so this is angle A, this is angle B, and this is angle C. Okay, so if we go back again to the formula, to the sine rule, we have A over sine A equals to B over sine B equals to C over sine C. So in order to answer this question, we only need to use this one, right? So we don't need this one because we don't know this angle over here. We don't actually need to know about it, and we don't we also don't need to find this side over here, right? So let's just erase those. Just gonna see. Okay, now let's see what we have here. So we already determined which one is angle A, which one is angle B, and then which one is angle side side length A and side length B. So we only need to plug in all of the values here. So the value of A is this one, right? It's the x. So just write down x over here, and then sine A. So that'll be sine of this angle over here, right? That'll be 32, and then equals to, and then the B, the B, this one here, this B is going to be 15, and then this one is going to be 46 for the angle of this one. So there'll be just sine 46 degree. Okay, so in here, to find the value of x, is just you only need to solve this equation over here, right? So remember that whenever you want to solve any algebraic equation, the goals is to make the variable alone in one side of the equal sign. In here, the variables that we want to know is the value of x, this one, and it's on the left side of the equal sign. This is the equal sign, right? That's on the left side, but it's not alone. We still have this over here, right? So in order to get rid of this, we need to multiply both sides by sine 32. So if I multiply both sides by sine 32, there will be x equals to 15 over sine 46 degree equal multiply by sine 32. Okay, so you only need to put all of these into the calculator and you will get the value. Okay, so if you put that into calculator, you will get 11 0.05011701. If you're an IB student, most of the time you will use 3 significant figures. I think for chemistry also the same. So we'll have 11.1. Okay, the second example, basically the same thing. So we want to find the value of x. So this one over here. Okay, so let's see what we have here. So the first thing that we need to do is to name all of the vertex, and then name all of the angles, and also this side line. So I'm gonna go with this one is A, for example. This is B, and this is C. Okay, you can actually swap them around, it's up to you actually, but I'm gonna go with this one. Okay, so which means that this angle is angle A, this angle is angle C, and this angle is angle B. Okay, so we don't know angle B, so because we actually don't need it. Okay, the next one is to name the side line. This one is A because it's opposite to angle A. This one over here is angle side length C because it's opposite to angle C, right? So which means this one is the B. Okay, so from the previous question, from the previous example, we know that if you want to find this side over here, we can use the sine rule. So we can use A over sine A equals to B over sine B equals to C over sine C. Okay, as you know here, what we want to know is the side length of A, and what we know here is the angle C and also the side length C. So we don't need this one, right? So the B, we don't need it. So I'm just going to use the A and the C. So this one and equals to this one. So I'm going to rewrite the formula again. A over sine A equals to C over sine C. So we don't need the B. Okay, so what we need to do, the next thing we need to do is the same thing like before, right? You only need to plug in all the values. So in here, A is the side length A, which is this one, which is the x value, the one that we want to know. I'm gonna write that x over here over sine value of angle A. So angle A is this side over here, right? This is A, so that will be 108 degree. And the next one is C, so it should be small case C. Okay, lowercase c. So the C value here is the length of C, which is this one, right? We have already from the question, it's there on the question. And the question is 9. And then over the sine of the angle of C, which is this one over here, right? Which is 48. Then again, because we want to know the value of x in here, it's as simple as multiplying both sides by sine 108, and then you will get the value of x. Okay, and then if I multiply both sides by sine 108, and then the x value will be equals to 11.51795498, or with 3 significant figures, there will be just 11.5. Yeah, that's it. Okay, for the third example, in here, we have this triangle over here, and then we want to know the value of x over here. This is the size of the angle. Then again, the first thing we do is to name all of the vertex with the letters, and here we have A, B, and C. And then the next one is to name all of the side length with the name corresponding to the vertex of to the angle opposite to it. So which means that this is going to be side A, and this is going to be side B. So in here we don't need the C, right? Because we don't know the C here, and we don't need to know about it, and we don't it's not being asked. So which means that we only need to use the A and B. So which means that we can write down the formula: A over sine A equals to B over sine B. Okay, now what we need to do here, the next thing to do is to just plug in all of the values. In here we have A, which is this 35. Just I'm gonna write down 35 over here, and then over sine the angle A, which is this one, angle A, which is 65, and equals to B. B is this one over here, is 35. Sorry, it's 30. Sorry, over sine of X, right? Because this is angle B, so that'll be just X. Okay, so you only need to make the variable alone in one side, which means that if you have a the one that's being asked, the variable that's being asked is as a denominator, so you only need to the first thing you do is to make the denominator gone, which means that we're going to multiply, we're going to do what we call a cross multiplication. So we move this sine 35 and multiply that with 35, and I'm going to move that sine 65 and I'm going to multiply with 30. So which means that I will get 35 multiplied by sine x equals to 30 multiplied by sine 65. Okay, so the next thing we do is, again, because we want to make the variable alone, this x over here, so we need to divide both sides by 35. So that'll be sine of x equals to 30 multiplied by sine 65 degree divided by 35. And the last thing we do is to get rid of this sign. In geometry, that will be sine inverse, right? So if you move that, if you want to find the angle, remember, if you want to find the angle, you always use the inverse. Yes, like sine inverse or cosine inverse. So I'm going to show later. Okay, so there will be the sine inverse of 30 times sine 65 degree over 35. Okay, so in here, if you put that into the calculator, you'll get 50.9717187, or most of the time you use 3 significant figures or 1 decimal place. If it is an angle, that will be just 51.0 degree. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about cosine rule. So again, we have this cosine rule over here. We have the formulas over here. So actually, we have like a couple of formulas for this one, but actually they are the same. So as you can see that in here, we have c squared equals to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. I'm going to rewrite that again. So c squared equals to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. So actually we have another two formulas, which are, the first one is a squared equals to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine a, and the last one is b squared equals to a squared plus c squared equals to 2ac cosine B. Okay, so notice that you only need to understand one formula, because actually all of them are going to be the same. The only difference in here is that when naming the side length, it's going to be very, very crucial. Okay, can you see that the pattern here? If we have C over here, so the angle is going to be C. If we have A over here, so the angle is going to be also A. And if I have B over here, and this is going to be B. So if this is C, if the one that's being asked is C, so meaning that this is going to be A and B, A and B. If this is A, so this is going to be B and C, B and C, and this is B, which means it's going to be A and C, and A and C. So notice that all of them are going to be there. I mean, A, B, and C. Okay, so naming the vertex and the what do you call the side line is going to be a little bit different, but actually it's almost the same thing. So yeah, okay, so let me give you an example for this one over here. So let's say number one, we have find the length of the remaining side in a given triangle. So in here we have this length over here, this length over here, and then we want to know this side over here. So notice that in the previous example about using the sine rule, we have two sides and two angles, right? If you're using the sine rule. In a cosine rule, you will get one side. Sorry, one side is three sides and one angle. Okay, so this is going to be using the sine rule, cosine rule. Sorry. Right, so these are the two difference about when to use the cosine and sine rule. You'll if you want to know, for example, if you have like two side and then you have one angle and the other angle is being asked, so you're going to use the cosine sine rule. If you have like three side, or like you have two side and one angle, and then you want to know the other angle, meaning that you're going to use the cosine rule. So just remember that when you're using the cosine rule, you at the end of the answer, you will know all of the three angles, right? All of the three sides, side length, and then one angle that is opposite to the angle this side over here, right? Okay, so yeah, let's just go to the example here. Okay, so okay, so let's see, we have this. And then remember, when we're doing the sine rule, we're using the sine rule. The first thing we do is to name all of the vertex. The same thing in here. I'm gonna name this with A, B, and C, for example. Okay, and then I'm gonna name also the what do you call it? The side length in front of opposite to the angle. So this one here is the C, and this one is the A, and this one is the B. So remember, it's always opposite to the angle. To the vertex of the angle. Yeah, same thing. Okay, now in here, the one that's being asked is this guy over here, right? The C. So which means that we're going to use this formula, right? Because the one that's being asked is the C, right? This one. So notice that if I suddenly change, I mean, like my order of A, B, and C is not like this. For example, I'm naming this would be, I'm naming this with C, for example. So which means that this is not side B and C. So this is going to be side C because it's in front of that. And this is going to be side B, right? So the one that I'm asking here, right, the one that's being asked is this guy over here, is a B. So which means that I'm going to use this formula over here, right? But basically, they're actually the same thing, right? So let me give you the example, I mean, like illustration and how to solve this again. Okay, so let me use the first one. That'll be C, B over here. So that'll be A, B over here, and C over here. So again, because the one that we want to find is the C, so we're going to use this formula over here, this formula here, right? Okay, so let's just write down the formula then, and then just plug in all of the numbers, right? So the C square equals to A square plus B square minus 2AB cosine C. Okay, now we don't know the C value, right? That's the one that being asked, so it's just C. And then we know the A is this one over here, right? That's the A value. That'll be 15 square. And B value is this one, which is 21 square, and then minus 2 times A. The A again is 15, the B is 21, and then the C, the cosine C, is the angle over here, is 98 degree. So that will be just C equals to square root of all of that, 15 square plus 21 square minus 2 times 15 times 21 times cosine 98, and then you only need to plug all of these into the calculator. And you will get 27.45 or 27, three significant figures. They'll be 27.5 centimeter. Okay, moving on to the next example, number 2. So we have this triangle again, and then find the length of the remaining side, which is over here, this side over here. So again, the same thing like before. We name all the vertex and all of the side length with the letters. Most of the time, I will suggest you to use A, B, and C, because if you're still confused, I mean, like if you're a little bit confused about naming all the side, name that with A, B, C, because in here, we use the what do you call the formulas as A, B, and C, A, B, and C. So use A, B, and C. And then another suggestion for you guys, if you are using the cosine rule, so I suggest that you name the side length in front of the angle that you know with the C. So because the angle that we know here is this one over here, so which means that in front of that, opposite to that, that's going to be the side C. Okay, so the remaining two is A and B. It doesn't matter which one is A and B. So this is, for example, this is A and B, right? So which means that this is going to be the angle C, right? Okay, so yeah, so after we name all of them, so we only need to plug in all of them to here, right? So because we want to know this side over here, the PQ, so we name that with C. So I'm gonna just substitute that. So the C square, we don't know that, there will be the PQ, and then equals to the A value is 4.8. 4.8, that will be squared, plus B, that will be this one, 6.7, and then squared again, and then minus 2 times 4.8, and then times 6.7, and then times the cosine of 38 degree. Okay, again, can you see, guys, that this here, right, the side in front of the angle that we know, the angle that we are going to use in the cosine rule, is always going to be like here. So the position is only going to be here and here, and on the edges of the formulas, right? So for this one, you only need to find the square root of that value, right? So you only need to put that into the calculator. It'll be 4.8 square plus 6.7 square and minus 2 times 4.8, and then times 6.7, and then times it with cosine of 38 degree. If you use a calculator, there will be 4.15 kilometer. That's it. Okay, moving on to the third example. And here we have a triangle, and then find the value of x, in which the x value here is the angle over here. Sorry. Okay, now if the angle is the one that's being asked, so which means that we're going to use this formula over here, right? This cosine C equals to a squared plus b squared minus c squared minus 2ab. Okay, so because again the one that's being asked is the angle size. Okay, so like the previous example, the first thing that we need to do is to name all of the side with A, B, and C again, because we don't have it. We have it. If we have it, also we need to name it with A, B, and C, so that you don't really you're not going to be really confused about it. Okay, so like my suggestion before, if we are using the cosine rule, notice that every time you want to the angle that we're going to use in the cosine rule, the side length in opposite to that is going to always be the C. So since we have this angle over here, the one that's being asked, or the one that we're going to use for the cosine rule, so which means that this side over here opposite to that is going to be the C. So which means that the other two is going to be just A and B. Okay, so which means that this is going to be the angle C. Okay, now I'm going to write down the formula. There'll be cosine C equals to a squared plus b squared minus c squared over 2ab. So basically this is actually from here, from this, right? So you only need like this is actually just changing the subject into cosine C, but you don't really need to know about it because yeah, you have already provided by the formula. So the next step is just again substituting everything. So in here, cosine C, because we want to know the angle C, in here the cosine C is going to be cosine X, right? So that'll be cosine X, right? Because that is the one that we want to know. And that'll be equals to A is this one, which is 5. That'll be 5 square. And B is this one, which is going to be 7 square. And minus, this is going to be the C, the side length C. That'll be 10 square. And then over 2 times A is 5. And then the B is 7. Okay, the next thing, since we want to know the value of x, so which means that there will be the cosine inverse. Remember, every time we want to know the value of the angle, so we're going to use the inverse function. So 5 square plus 7 square minus 10 square over 2 times 5 times 7. So again, you don't need to calculate this manually, just use a calculator. Okay, so if you use a calculator, there will be 111.803748. If you use 3 significant figures, there'll be 112 degree. If you are using 1 decimal place, there'll be 111.8 degree. 1 decimal place. Okay, that's it. Okay, the last thing that we're going to talk about is the area of triangle. So in here, we have the area of triangle is equals to 1 over 2 times A times B times sine of angle C. So when you're in elementary school maybe, or in junior high school, you will see that the area of a triangle is like base times height divided by 2, or the same thing as 1 over 2 times base times height, right? So why don't we see this guy over here? So actually there is that, but notice that when you are in elementary school or in a junior high school, the base on the height is always perpendicular, right? It's 90 degree. So if you use the 90 degree over here, so sine 90 degree is equals to 1. So that's why we don't need to write this down. If you have the base and the height, the two side that is that you are going to use is making a 90 degree angle. So, yeah. Okay, so let's just use this formula here again to be used in the example here. Okay, so this is example. Find the area of this triangle over here. So remember that every time you know like two sides over here, and then those two sides making an angle over here, like the angle that's being made is from these two sides, right? So which means that this is going to be A, this is going to be C, and B, and this is going to be the angle C, right? So again, always the angle is always between the two sides that is going to be known. So which means that the area of this triangle is easy as 1/2 times 12 times 13 times sine 45 degree. That's it, right? Because you only need to substitute, that's it. Because we know that this is the A value, this is A, this is the B, and this is the angle of C. That's it. Just put that into the calculator, and you will get 39 square root of 2, and in here in centimeter square. Or if you want to use a decimal number, that'll be 55.2 centimeter square. 3 significant figures. Okay, as easy as that. Okay, let me give you another example. This is question number 1. Let's go to number 2. Okay, the same thing as before, the same question. Find the area of this triangle over here, and then again we have that formula. The area of a triangle is 1/2 times A times B times sine of angle C. Okay, now again what do you call the A and B over here is again the side line that makes the angle. In here, the angle that we're going to use is this one over here, so which means that this 82 is made by these two lines, right? So this is going to be A and B, and this is going to be the angle C. That's it. Okay, so for example, if for example the question is not going to be like this, maybe some additional information. For example, this is like 45 degree, for example, you're not going to use this 45 degree in this formula. Why? Because this 45 degree is made, yeah, sorry, so this is 45 degree is made by this line and this line, right? So you know this line is 28, but you don't know this line, right? So you cannot use this angle over here, right? So the one that you're going to use is this what do we call this angle over here? So which means that the A and B is the side that made this angle, which is this two side. So this is going to be angle C. So just plug in all of the numbers. That's it. So there'll be 25 and then 28, and then you're going to be sine 82, and then just put all of them into the calculator, and that will be equals to 346.5938241, or 3 significant figures. That will be 347 in kilometers square. Okay, so this is the last example for this video. This is example number 3. I think it was number 2. Yeah, this is number 3. Okay, here we have the following diagram shows triangle ABC, and then where AC is 10 centimeter and the angle of BAC is equal to 35 degree. The area of the triangle is ABC is 22 centimeter square. Find the length of AB. So this one over here. Okay, so like I said before, guys, so it doesn't matter about A, B, and C for this one. You can rearrange them. Actually, it's fine, no problem with that. So in here, we know that the area of a triangle is going to be 1/2 times AB times sine C, in which is this one. If this is C, right? If this is C, so this is going to be A and B, right? You don't need to pay attention to this one. It's fine, no problem, right? So this one B here is going to be the one that we're going to find, right? So which means that if I change this into B, so because we know that the area is 22, so there'll be 22 equals to 1/2 times A is 10, and then times B, the one that we want to know, and then times sine of 35 degree, right? And yeah, there you go. So which means that you only need to find the value of b. So which means that we only need to divide both sides by 1 over 2 times 10 times 10 times 35. So which means that that'll be 22 over 1 over 2 times 10, or okay, I'm gonna just use the calculation like this, right? I'm gonna change that. So I'm gonna rewrite that as 22 equals to 1 over 2 times 10 is 5. So I'm gonna write that 5 times b times sine 35 like this, right? So I'm gonna get rid of the 5 and the sine 35 by dividing both sides by that 2. So that'll be 22 over 5 times sine 35 equals to b. Just plug all of this into the calculator. It'll be equals to 7.67, and it is in centimeter. Okay. Next one is find BC, which is this one, right? So we can use the cosine rule for this one, right? Because the one that we ask is in front of this angle here, the one that we know. If this is 7.67, right? So which means that if I redraw the triangle again, I'm gonna name that differently with the vertex. So I'm gonna, this is 35 degrees, so I don't really need to use the same as B and C and over here. So the one that's being asked is over here, this one over here. So if this is 10 and this is 7.67, so the one that's being asked is this guy over here. So if we use the cosine rule, that c squared equals to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. So this guy over here is going to be the c, right? So this is going to be a and b because that two side is forming this angle over here. So which means that that c, this one over here, this side length is going to be equals to c squared. So I'm gonna just equals to square root, right? That will be a squared, so 10 squared, plus the b, the one that we have already know, that's 7.67 squared, and then minus 2 times 10 times, sorry, I'm gonna move this a little bit to the left, 7.67, and then times cosine of 35. Then again, just plug this into the calculator, and that'll be 5.76. That'll be in centimeter. Okay, and the last one is find the angle of CBA. CBA here, I'm gonna erase all of them first. CBA in here is this guy over here, right? So let's name that with X, for example. So in here we can use the sine rule, right? So because we already know this is 7.67 and we already know this is 5.76, we can actually find it with the sine rule. So the sine rule is this side over the sine of this one equals to, for example, this side over the angle of this side, the sine value of that angle. Okay, so which means that I'm gonna redraw that again, redraw the triangle again. Okay, that'll be 1, 2, 3. Okay, that'll be X. I don't need, again, I don't need to use the same letters as A, B, and C over here. You can rearrange them as you like. Okay, the position that does matter, like for example, like which one opposite to which one, that is the one that's being very important. Okay, so this is the X value, we don't know the X ray, so that's the X angle. This is 7.67, this is 10, and the last one is, this is 5.76, and this is 35 degree. Okay, now since we want to know this value of X, so we only need to use this and this, right? Because that's opposite to that, and then this and this because that's opposite to that. So we don't need this one over here. Okay, so again, you can name that with any letter you want. So for example, if you want to use the same thing, it's actually fine, but in cosine rule, remember that it's a little bit different, but I suggest that in cosine rule you always use this concept in which the angle that you use is always the C, right? But for the sine rule, you can actually use any use A, B, C anywhere you want. Okay, so for this one I'm gonna use the same thing. Let's say A, B, and C over here. Is it? Oh no, B is over here, and C is over here. right? So which means that we're going to use a and b. Okay, so that'll be a over sine a equals to b over sine b, and then just substitute all of the values. So which means that this is going to be the sideline a, and this is going to be sideline b. So that'll be 5.76 over sine a is going to be sine 35 degree equals to b, which is 10, and then sine b is going to be sine of x. That is what we want to know. Okay, so like the previous example, we want to know the value of x. In here, we cross multiply that. That'll be 5.76 multiplied by sine x equals to 10 times sine 35. So which means that sine x, divide both sides by 7.76. So that'll be like this. And then the last step is to find the x value, which means that we're going to use the sine inverse of that. Sine 35 over 5.76. And then, yeah, you only need to put that into the calculator. That'll be 84.7 degree. And there you go.